just want to say that I'm so sorry. So many people are getting attacked. The children. They don't understand.
I'm here to tell you right now, we don't care.
Let me tell you.
What's up, everybody? It's your girl, Mika, and we're back for another Red Cup Talks because this is where truth, pop culture, and politics meet. So I wanted to come on today and talk about these mass deportations because apparently the left and the mainstream media has decided that we must care about these mass deportations. However, they have not been caring about Americans for a very long time. They take these migrants and stick them in impoverished communities. Chicago's Black residents have been arguing about this point for the last 4 years. Still, no one listens. All their resources and tax dollars are drained, and they're still in the south side of Chicago where nothing is being fixed, and all of the money has been going to the illegal migrants. As well as when you go to North Carolina, those people have been sleeping out in the cold since the summer because FEMA and the Biden administration didn't do anything for them. They're just getting homes and getting placed in apartments, but the Democratic politicians want us to care. However, the left has decided to engage their usual suspects, CNN, MSNBC, and the famous Golden Girls, The View. I want you guys to see what they had to say on the topic because Tom Homan and JD Vance over the weekend talked about mass deportations because they ramped up, and I do mean they have ramped up. Watch this.
Border czar Tom Homan has started using ICE agents to conduct a nationwide raid and the U.S. military to carry out mass deportations of undocumented citizens. Now, he told ABC News chief global affairs correspondent Martha Raddatz that this is just the beginning. Take a look.
Is this what we will see every single day, ending in what the president has promised is millions and millions being deported?
Yes. But you can see the numbers steadily increase, the number of arrests nationwide as we open up the aperture.
The estimates of perhaps those who have been convicted or arrested in the past, 700,000 to over 1 million. So after you do that, then you go after everybody who is there illegally.
If you're in the country illegally, you're on the table.
The acting Homeland Security Secretary said in a statement, criminals will no longer be able to hide in America's schools and churches to avoid arrest. What criminals are hiding in schools?
How many MS-13 members are the age of 14 to 17?
That's a fact.
Many of them.
So, is this the immigration system fix that people had in mind when they voted? Do you think?
Well, it's hard to tell at this table because no one voted for it. But I think if you were, I don't know yet. It's kind of, it's disturbing what we're seeing, and the headlines and all the coverage would make you think that there's this massive deportation. But by numbers, it contextually, President Obama still remains the deporter in chief, even if Trump continues at this rate.
President Obama is the deporter in chief. I keep telling people this, but they just don't like Trump, so they want to go ahead and say, well, Trump is separating families and he's sending people back. And the deporter-in-chief sent way more people back than Trump is probably going to ever get to, honestly.
He will not even hit what President Obama hit in 1 year with 400,000. But the point here is that it's meant to be a PR campaign. So it's meant to scare people. Mm-hmm. That's what they're doing right now. Mm-hmm. And when you look at these flights where they are deporting people back to their origin nation, we don't know who they are, and that's where I'd like to see more transparency. If indeed, right now, everyone on these flights is a violent criminal, I think we can all agree everyone thinks they should leave the country. We were saying that this morning. It's common sense. They had nabbed more than 300 illegal migrant criminals, including 1 attempted murder and 1 child molester. But what about the other 298? What was their crime?
Ma'am, the crime is that you came over here illegally. Like, I don't understand why we keep having this argument. It's a crime. It's illegal. That's why it's called illegal immigration. What don't these people get?
So 87% of Americans support deporting undocumented migrants who've committed crimes in this country. That's nearly a universal opinion that I think we stand by. 55% express some desire to see anyone who's here unlawfully leave. So that's a lot more split. What I'd say is this when we talk about this issue, most nations on earth deal with the question of how to secure their border and how many migrants to take in. It's not uniquely American. It's not xenophobic to simply care about it. There's national security imperatives. There's economic imperatives. And what we're seeing now, what matters to me is how it's done, that it's done humanely and safely, and that we're prioritizing the people who shouldn't be here. So again, people who have committed offenses against people, but also I think that it's important that we contextualize it, because to Sarah's point, in Obama's first term, 3 million people were deported. That's much slower than what Trump's on pace to do right now. And I'd finally say that I think that America is supposed to be a shining city on a hill. I think that we're a place that welcomes migrants. We're stronger for it, but we should prioritize people like refugees. Right now, there's 1,600 Afghans who helped assist us in this war who are on pause under the Trump administration from coming in. Those are the people who need to come first, not economic migrants. We can't house everyone. We can't bring everyone here, but people who helped our country and are fleeing for their lives should always be able to have a place.
I like that she brought up the economics of it, because that's exactly what this is. This is economic illegal immigration, okay? This is for your businesses that want to keep costs low. America doesn't even take care of the impoverished that are already here. So at the end of the day, no.
To answer your question, which is this the immigration fix that this country wanted? I think absolutely there are certain people that wanted to see this kind of pain and destruction for a certain group or type of immigrant. Because if you look at the numbers, yes, the number of immigrants that come from Mexico or of Mexican born are the largest, but the next largest are Asians. 28% of them come. I don't think they walk across the southern border. I think they come by plane. The next largest are Europeans. I don't think they walk either. I'm just saying immigrants, right?
Oh, not undocumented though.
A lot of them are undocumented,
but that's not the stat for being.
But a lot
Asians
of them
come by
plane and then overstay their visas. They overstay their visas. They overstay their visas, so they're undocumented. The Europeans that come here that overstay their visas are undocumented, but they don't come across the southern border. So I think there's a very clear message as to what this president wants the look of a criminal migrant to look like, what an undocumented migrant. And I think that's racist.
Cloudy Hostin is the last person that should talk about racism when your mama claimed that she was black when she knew she was white the whole time. On top of that, your family owned slaves. Like, ma'am, please, we don't want to hear you. Lastly, Cloudy Hostin here likes to leave out things because Donald Trump has definitely talked about Asian migrants. Yes, 18,000 of them deported. And India has even said we are taking them back.
In my view, he has circumvented established law by weaponizing the U.S. military.
Can you explain what you mean by that?
Generally, before being deported, you have an asylum case pending in front of a court, and you must appear in front of that judge. Right now, there are 3 million asylum cases and 900 judges. That is why the bipartisan bill that was going to be passed addressed that particular issue. Instead of dealing with it legally in that way, and I'm not saying he's doing it illegally, what he did was declared a national emergency that qualifies as a foreign invasion. And on the U.S.-Mexico border, not any other border. And that cleared the way for the Department of Defense to deploy the military at a 60% increase. I just think that our military members, many of them did not join the military to do that job. And let me say just finally that they are also racially profiling in doing this. In Newark, New Jersey, a business venue on Thursday was raided, and among the citizens that they detained and questioned was a Puerto Rican man and a military vet. For the 50 million thousandth time, Puerto Ricans are Americans and disproportionately serve in the military. And so I say all of this to say that I am disappointed, disgusted, and saddened.
You should be disappointed in your own family because last time I checked, you're a colonizer. You didn't have a problem when Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton were sending these young men and women to places in the Middle East that they weren't even supposed to be in, places that they deliberately toppled, like Syria, like Libya, like Yemen, those places where American soldiers died for what? Nothing. And now that Liz Cheney is your best friend, do you say anything about, her and her dad and Halliburton over there in Iraq when Iraq had nothing to do with 9/11? Oh, no, she doesn't talk about that at all. You see, the left, delusional.
I think that what he's done with the military, in addition to the legal aspects that may be involved, has a lot to do with a publicity stunt. The point is cruelty. The point is instilling fear. But it's also very costly. A charter DHS flight, it's been reported, is something like $8,500. A military C-130 is $816,000. So each one of those planes is costing us, so that he can have his picture and his photo op, 100 times more what a charter flight would be. And I have been saying for 2 months that people need to get prepared, because he said this was coming and he's living up to that.
Anna Basura. Okay. And I'm going to tell you why. Anna is Cuban. Okay. And so am I. So I know the law. All right. Cubans came over here legally. Right. So she doesn't know anything about having to cross the border, swim the Rio Grande, none of that stuff. She's a whole front liar. You just said yourself, there's 3 million, or maybe Cloudy Hostin said it. There's 3 million immigrants that are backlogged right now for asylum. Why in the world would I allow those people when there are tons of people that have been waiting in line forever? No, ma'am. And lastly, she said, oh, it costs so much to send these flights. It costs New York, just New York City. Okay. Just New York City alone. It costs New York City billions. Eric Adams got indicted. All right, so you guys just saw that. You saw the Golden Girls on The View. Go ahead and give their synopsis of what Americans should feel. But the Golden Girls need to know that we are putting Americans first. Now, everybody knows that celebrity culture is dying, okay? That pop stars, they're still good, all right? Because I love pop music. I've even written for a couple of artists. However, pop stars are no longer the voice of reason for Americans or everyday people. And Selena Gomez is no different. I want you guys to see how she got on Instagram just crying. Here you go.
Just want to say that I'm so sorry. All my people are getting attacked. The children. I don't understand. I'm so sorry. I wish I could do something, but I can't. I don't know what to do. I'll try everything, I promise.
So you guys just saw that. That was pop star singer Selena Gomez. Yes, she's over there crying because she is Mexican and her family came over here illegally, starting with her grandmother and then the rest of her family all the way down to her, which she was born here and now she's a U.S. citizen. The Democrats know this. It's a sneaky way to actually get a voting block. That's why they're okay with allowing them all in. However, Tom Homan talked about that Chicago was ground zero, and the Chicago residents, meaning a lot of the Black people in Chicago on the South Side in the most impoverished areas, decided that they were going to fight back the Democrats in Chicago. Donald Trump promised the FBAs in Chicago that he would do something about the migrants, and he's keeping his promise. I want you guys to see what CNN had to say about the border czar declaring Chicago to be ground zero. Watch this.
Border czar Tom Homan last night, and he told me that this was a, quote, game changer, and that the focus in Chicago, and again, it wasn't just enforcement action in Chicago, but that's where he was on the ground, was a, quote, criminal operation. So again, what we are seeing that is different in this scenario is that there are so many agencies that are coming together for this operation of arresting undocumented immigrants in the United States. Now, the numbers that Immigration and Customs Enforcement put out last night was nearly 1,000. So if we look at that as a day, well, in the last year, arrests hovered around 300 a day. So that would be higher, and they're expecting to ramp that up over time. Immigrants in the United States, if they are in the path of these operations, it has not been off the table that they may be taken into custody as well as the fear within the immigrant community as this continues on over the course of the week and weeks to come, according to Trump officials.
What this video is ICE taking out those gangs that they said didn't exist in Aurora, that Trinidad. Yeah, that's them. That's not regular migrants, okay? That's not your everyday average person that's just going to work and they're being arrested. That's the gangs that, MSNBC and all them said that they weren't here, that they weren't taking over apartments. That's them. And it's so funny that they didn't even mention what that is, because they want you to feel like this is wrong. No, those are games. Bye-bye.
Well, this was a pushback from Brazil over a repatriation flight. They said that they had concerns about the treatment of the passengers and the degrading treatment, citing U.S. agreements that say that migrants should be handled humanely and with respect. Here is a soundbite of a Brazilian man who's on this flight.
They attacked the kids. I sat there until I reached my limit. I couldn't take it anymore.
Now, we're still collecting more details about the circumstances of this flight. Typically, immigrants would not be handcuffed during the flight, but it does happen in scenarios where there may be a specific threat or criminal history. So again, we're still collecting details, but just some context there in terms of what he was referring to when it comes to handcuffs.
I know we're not talking about Brazil, the same place that allows a lot of Americans to be unalive. You know, they go down there and they go out and party and then they get drugged and they end up not coming back to America. You know, that passport bros, all that type of stuff. Those are American people still. And you guys don't do anything about that. So Brazil, please spare me.
Chicago are now suing the Trump administration and ICE, saying planned deportation operations are retaliatory and violate the First and Fourth Amendments. The lawsuit claims that the raids specifically target Chicago for its sanctuary city status. Let's bring in Illinois Attorney General Kwame Raoul. Trump administration has, quote, declared Chicago ground zero for immigration enforcement. What do you make of that?
Well, I haven't seen the lawsuit that you're referring to, but certainly we've heard prior to President Trump taking office that Chicago would be targeted. We were expecting it. Quite frankly, the notification I'm getting is from you and the rest of the media, unfortunately. Historically, we've had a good working relationship with our law enforcement, our federal law enforcement partners, and we want to continue that. I started that halfway through first Trump administration, and we plan on continuing that focus on criminal operations.
Can you tell us anecdotally what you're hearing, what's coming across your desk as these operations are unfolding?
Well, unfortunately, this shock and awe approach, which involves trying to have cameras and having celebrities like Dr. Phil embedded within, is meant to upset a community that we rely on to partake in solving public safety problems. This undermines the ability for communities to come forth and collaborate with law enforcement to solve crimes. When it's being said that this operation is to focus on people who have committed crimes, I think it's going to have an opposite effect in the long run. It's a wide net seemingly being casted, and inevitably you'll have effects of racial profiling and upsetting a community that would otherwise collaborate with law enforcement.
See, this is why you can't trust a Democrat. I don't even know who he's talking about, because I do know the Black people in Chicago want the immigrants out.
Neighbors in Woodlawn gathered to talk about what they call big problems at a nearby migrant shelter. New at 10, CBS 2 political investigator Dana Kozlov takes us through what happened.
Let them talk so they have a voice.
A call for order during a heated meeting at Woodlawn's Apostolic Church of God.
Who's helping me?
The focus, this migrant shelter in the old Wadsworth Elementary School.
I would ask you all to go out there at night, in the middle of the night, and see what goes on.
What's going on, according to community members, is loitering, late night partying, littering, prostitution, and at least one fight between migrants and residents.
It got a little heated. Objects got thrown.
But many of these residents say they no longer have any tolerance for the disruptive behavior by those seeking asylum here. It's making them feel unsafe.
They disrespect us, they rob us, they harass us.
And their patience is wearing thin.
Let me say this. They got one more time to deal with it, because otherwise, next time they deal with it, they're going to deal with it from the streets. We're going to take over it. Nobody's going to be able to stop us from what we're going to do to them.
All of the city officials here at this meeting promise that they are working for solutions to make the area around the shelter better for the neighborhood.
That's a lie. But as you see, I don't know who CNN was talking about, because these people here want the migrants gone. Now, last but not least, Vice President JD Vance gave a whole interview on immigration. They tried to back him into a corner, and he held his own. I want you guys to see what JD Vance had to say about immigration. Here we go.
How do you reconcile this challenge to the 14th Amendment to the Constitution?
So I obviously disagree with that judge, and these things, some of them will be litigated. That's the nature of our constitutional system. But here's the basic idea of President Trump's view on this. If you are a lawful permanent resident or a legal immigrant who plans to stay, your children, of course, should become American citizens. But let's say you're the child of an ambassador. You don't become.
But that's not part of it.
Well, that is
already a carve-out having
an
to do
important
with kids of
principle.
diplomats.
But we're saying that carve-out should apply to anybody who doesn't plan to stay here. If you come here on vacation and you have a baby in an American hospital, that baby doesn't become an American citizen. If you're an illegal alien and you come here temporarily, hopefully, your child does not become an American citizen by virtue of just having been born on American soil. It's a very basic principle in American immigration law that if you want to become an American citizen and you've done it the right way, and the American people and their collective wisdom have welcomed you into our national community, then you become a citizen. But temporary residents, people who come in here, whether legally or illegally, and don't plan to stay, their children should become American citizens. I don't know any country that does that or why we would be different.
Oh, but this is a country founded by immigrants.
Well, this is a country founded by.
Country.
This is a very unique country, and it was founded by some immigrants and some settlers. But just because we were founded by immigrants doesn't mean that 240 years later that we have to have the dumbest immigration policy in the world. No country says that temporary visitors, their children, will be given complete access to the benefits and blessings of American citizenship. America should actually look out for the interests of our citizens first. And that means, again, if you're here permanently and lawfully, your kid becomes an American citizen. If you're not here permanently, if you're not subject to the jurisdiction of the United States and don't plan to be, why would we make those people's children American citizens permanently?
All right, so you guys saw all of that. So here are my thoughts. For the last 4 years, the United States government has been aiding and abetting these people that have been coming across the border. I mean, all types of people. It doesn't matter. You came over here illegally. We have a legal immigration system. Use it. The problem is you got all of these politics involved because people want to use illegal immigration to do exactly what they've been doing, having free labor, slave labor, and cheap labor. However, this time, the American people finally said enough, and we want them gone. And if they're good people, they can come back legally because nobody is void of having compassion. But at the expense of yourself, no. Okay. At the expense of the Chicago residents? No. At the expense of people in North Carolina? No. People of the United States have spent their hard-earned money on illegal migrants. They get to send that money back to their country because they're not subject to our jurisdiction. And when they're done using us, they just go back home. Meanwhile, we're stuck here with bad inflation and high taxes. So guess what? They're going back. You guys get down in the comments and let me know what you thought about Selena Gomez crying all over Instagram and what you thought about the Golden Girls on The View. And then lastly, what you think about the mainstream media trying to make JD Vance and Tom Holman and everybody just seem so bad for doing what the American people asked Donald Trump to do. You guys get down in the comments, like, comment, and subscribe. It's your girl Mika, and I'm out.